CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Overview of Organizational Infrastructure. 22 Basic Cultural Elements. Significance. Every aspect of the organization operationalizes these values and is measured against them. Purpose. To support orientation and alignment around concepts at the heart of NVCO's organizational culture. Structure of this section. Small bullet. This document simply names items, while the more details about cultural elements document expands on some of the meanings and relationships in what has been named. Small bullet. Information is structured into multiple lists, rather than a hierarchy, because each item in a given list typically connects to multiple items in the following and preceding lists. Small bullet. The sections are ordered from ultimate/abstract to more in support/concrete. What comes earlier is in some sense more important, yet is supported by and realized through what follows. What comes later clarifies how we understand and aim to address what comes earlier. Vision/purpose/mission. What/why, why the organization exists and what it aims to achieve. Shared vision for community and organization. We envision a world where systems, cultures and individuals support the well-being and empowerment of all people, with care for past, present, and future life. 23 Theories of Change. The plan described in this document reflects an openness to 3 specific pathways towards our vision, as well as other pathways that may arise in the future that have been prevalent in the NVC community for years. Small bullet. Change will happen when a critical mass of the world's population are inspired to freely choose to embrace the fundamental principles and practices of sharing resources compassionately. Small bullet. Change will happen when transformation of leadership happens and people in power shift in how they use power. Small bullet. Change will happen when the social and economic systems in our world begin to operate according to collaborative principles. Why note, we decided to include all 3 theories of change without taking a stand. This is because we see the purpose of the new structure to allow all that is currently happening within the NVC community to continue in one home. Purpose of organization. We dedicate ourselves to the well-being and empowerment of all by applying and sharing nonviolent communication principles and practices with individuals and within systems and cultures. Mission of organization. Is a global organization. We seek to actively serve and support our community and to reach out to the world to advocate for the transformative power of NVC principles and practices. We 1. Model NVC and collaborative principles and practices as individuals and throughout the organization. 2. Connect all who are inspired to learn, integrate, share, and apply nonviolent communication. 3. Activate conditions that enable knowledge and activities throughout the community to become of service to the whole. 4. Support the transition to collaborative systems and practices at all levels of society. 5. Initiate and implement collaborative and mutually supportive projects in partnership with members of the community and the world at large. 6. Inspire and link with other communities and organizations who share a compatible vision. 7. Provide platforms, resources and materials. 8. Evolve our capabilities and understanding of NVC through research and experimentation. Nature of the organization. What/why, how we think about the way we intend to function together. Our organization lives and evolves the art of collaboration. We function as a living laboratory for discovering, practicing and refining what works to support people in coming together to serve a common purpose. We integrate the principles of nonviolent communication with other insights into what supports collaboration. Operational values. What/why, what we want the way we operate to serve. Things to check in about when considering how are we doing. 1. Connection to purpose. 2. Effectiveness. 3. Aliveness/wholeness. 4. Learning/growing capacity. 3. Key intentions. 25. What/why, things we aim to manifest, to help us live our core values. 1. Alignment/connection. 2. Reflecting interdependence. 3. Empowerment/support. 4. Care around power and access to resources and influence. 5. Service/humility. 6. Self-responsibility foundational strategies. What/why? High-level strategies we use to support our key intentions and core operational values. 1. Cultivating organizational culture. 2. Focus on purpose. 3. Self-management. 4. Agreements. 5. Modified advice process. 6. Feedback. 7. Addressing conflict. 8. Transparency. 9. Willingness. 10. Aligning resources to purpose and need for structure and governance. Summary of decisions. 26. 1. The current global NVC network will be reorganized to include the NVC Zero community, which consists of self-selecting members who participate in the community based on established criteria, and NVC Zero, the organization, which consists of self-selecting partners who, in addition, accept the cultural elements, operational agreements, and ways of serving that are established within NVCO. 2. The minimal unit of operation, the smallest node within NVCO, is called a weave. Weaves are groups of up to 12 partners who come together within NVC0 for a purpose of serving and getting things done. Weaves are organized into 9 clusters: community interface, maintenance, resources, organizational process, creating access, external communications, applications, projects, NVC evolution and innovation. 3. Each cluster selects one person to sit on the Global Council. In addition, the Council selects a Global Council holder and an internal leader for NVCO. The 12th position is a representative of the NVC0 community. The Global Council has coordination and initiation functions and is not a central decision-making authority. 4. The fundamental decision-making process within NVC0 is the modified advice process. Each person anywhere in the structure is free to make any decision provided they sought non-binding advice from those affected and those with specific expertise. The only exception is when anyone whose advice is sought asks for a collaborative process for the specific decision in question, in which case the request for a collaborative process is binding. 5. NVC0 will include sufficient operational agreements to provide both coherence to the organization as a whole across different zones, functions, etc., and autonomy for weaves to make their own decisions and function in ways that support effectiveness and service for them. Operational agreements are agreed upon ways of doing things, the equivalent of policy in the new structure, that apply unless specific conditions, circumstances, or needs lead weaves to act otherwise. When the decision to change an OA happens, the weave or individual that changed it will provide feedback about it to the Global Council for continual fine-tuning of the operational agreements. 6. NVC0 will not have an office and will operate instead through a virtual home that sustains all connections, work, and resource flow. Individual weaves might choose to have offices as part of their work. 7. NVC0 will attend to disparities in power, to issues of privilege, and to creating access for all through a variety of mechanisms, most especially through infusing the entire organization with specific and detailed operational agreements that will anchor the commitment to 5 changing resource flow and to learn and apply strategies that reverse centuries-old barriers to operating in a way that truly allows all needs to matter fully. Creating access. Summary of decisions. 1. NVC0 is undertaking a fundamental structural commitment to providing access to all through its operations rather than leaving it up to individual partners or weaves to make this commitment or figuring out how to operationalize it. This is in honor of the immense challenge of noticing and transforming the pervasive and persistent assumptions and actions that are based on lack of awareness of privilege and its effects, and b. how little exposure to methods and steps to transcend the effects of privilege there is, both in the world at large and within the NVC community. 2. One of the functions of the Access Cluster is to figure out, implement, and continually refine operational agreements as needed to infuse a critical awareness of social and structural power differences into the DNA of the organization as a whole and each weave. For example, one key initial operational agreement is to have an access partner in each weave. This operational agreement will then be refined and amended based on learning from the field. 3. Another core function of the Access Cluster is to prepare and disseminate throughout the organization curriculum and methods for learning about the effects of power and privilege. These will be especially relevant in relation to recognized roles, such that those seeking a recognized role of NVC practitioner will have such curriculum included in their learning, alongside the matrix and core commitments. 4. An initial access weave, as the seed of the emerging Access Cluster, will form an integral part of the implementation phase to work with all aspects of implementation from the beginning to ensure that sufficient operational agreements and other structural strategies are in place when NVC 0 launches. 5. NVC 0 is adopting the principle of resources flowing from where they exist to where they are needed as part of its commitment to undoing the effects of oppression, colonialism, and imperialism. As part of continuing to refine and amend operational agreements as needed, the initial set prepared by the Creating Access Working Group during Phase 2 of the New Future process will be reviewed by the initial Access Weave to increase the likelihood that this commitment will be spelled out in specifics about use of training resources, fundraising, and other elements. 6. 28 CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan. More details about cultural elements significance. Every aspect of the organization operationalizes these values and is measured against them. Purpose of this document, to support orientation and alignment around concepts at the heart of NVCO's organizational culture. Structure of document, small bullet. The unpacking document expands on some of the meanings and relationships in what has been named. Small bullet information is structured into multiple lists, rather than a hierarchy, because each item in a given list typically connects to multiple items in the following and preceding lists. Small bullet. The sections are ordered from ultimate/abstract to more in support/concrete. What comes earlier is in some sense more important, yet is supported by and realized through what follows. What comes later clarifies how we understand and aim to address what comes earlier. Vision/purpose/mission. Why the organization exists and what it aims to achieve. Purpose of organization. We dedicate ourselves to the well-being and empowerment of all by applying and sharing nonviolent communication principles and practices with individuals and within systems and cultures. We are inspired by our vision, and our shared purpose is to work towards that vision by doing what we do best, applying and sharing nonviolent communication principles and practices, one at all levels. With individuals, this work directly contributes to their ability to move through circumflexive with more capacity to attend to their needs with care for others' needs. Within systems and cultures, this work supports the conditions for collaboration in service of attending to the well-being and empowerment of all life. Mission of organization. Is a global organization. We seek to actively serve and support our community and to reach out to the world to advocate for the transformative power of NVC principles and practices. The organization focuses specifically on two core forms of service. One is to all the individuals and groups working within the NVC 0 community, where most of the work of NVC training happens, and consists of offering information, connections, platforms, and other resources that enhance the viability, ease, and effectiveness of work within the community. The other is to the world, where the organization can play a strategic role of increasing the visibility and viability of the possibilities for collaboration and the larger capacity to attend to needs that are inherent in NVC principles and practices even where they may not be known or appreciated. 1. Model NVC and collaborative principles and practices as individuals and throughout the organization. Some of the collaborative principles we aim to model are the commitment to arriving at concrete solutions after what's important to all and the shared purpose have been identified. Aiming for solutions that work for everyone. Focusing on sufficient connection to match the purpose at hand. And others. We are a beacon of learning more about these principles and of their application as a way to achieve integrity and expertise in bringing them to the world. 2. Connect all who are inspired to learn, integrate, share, and apply nonviolent communication. We are committed to greater effectiveness in all our engagements by creating and nurturing mechanisms and systems for supporting and enhancing connection in the larger NVC0 community and beyond. 3. Activate conditions that enable knowledge and activities throughout the community to become of service to the whole. We aim to develop, implement, test, and get feedback on how to increase information flow within the community in support of all parts of the community and into the world. 4. Support the transition to collaborative systems and practices at all levels of society. We focus on understanding what makes collaboration possible on all levels, from the most internal to the most global, and to learn and implement strategies for supporting the possibility of collaboration becoming more available on larger and larger scales. 5. Initiate and implement collaborative and mutually supportive projects in partnership with members of the community and the world at large. As part of our work in the world, we aim to initiate and implement projects that could not happen on the smaller scale at which most NVC0 community groups operate. In working on such projects, we intend to mobilize and partner with wisdom, expertise, resources, and commitments that exist anywhere within the community and the world to achieve greater effectiveness. 6. Inspire and link with other communities and organizations who share a compatible vision. We continually strive to humbly recognize the existence of many other individuals, communities, and organizations that are moving in similar directions. Wherever possible, we want to learn from and with such entities about how to become more effective together in bringing about the vision we share. 7. Provide platforms, resources and materials. We are committed to making materials, activities, ways of connecting, platforms for engagement, and other resources available to all within the community, such that all could easily find what they are looking for, could share and exchange with others, and add materials to what's already there. 8. Evolve our capabilities and understanding of NVC through research and experimentation. We seek to continually learn more and more about the effectiveness and applicability of NVC by conducting experiments where different applications are used, by engaging in formal research, and by the ongoing process of documenting and learning from what we do already. 3. Nature of the organization. What/why, how we think about the way we intend to function together. Our organization lives and evolves the art of collaboration. We function as a living laboratory for discovering, practicing and refining what works to support people in coming together to serve a common purpose. We integrate the principles of nonviolent communication with other insights into what supports collaboration. We celebrate that nonviolent communication (NVC) offers extremely valuable insights and skills for supporting people in partnering together. In this organization, we aim to develop, live and model a comprehensive approach to compassionate effectiveness, building on NVC and developing practices that go beyond the interpersonal realm, to support highly effective functioning in teams and in the organization as a whole. Our recipe approach builds on known applications of NVC that are particularly relevant to group functioning, such as practices for giving and receiving feedback, restorative circles, convergent facilitation, and so on. Develops new applications of NVC as needed, and also draws upon other compatible practices, such as the advice process. Core operational values. What/why, what we want the way we operate to serve. Things to check in about when considering how are we doing. 1. Connection to purpose. We aim to stay oriented to our purpose, to look to purpose for inspiration, for guiding our choices, and for assessing outcomes. Purpose in this sense may be found in the vision/purpose/mission of the organization, in our values and intentions, and in a purpose that has been identified for a particular group, project, or meeting. 2. Effectiveness. We aim to efficiently transform our investments of energy and other resources into high-impact outcomes consistent with our purpose. 3. Aliveness/wholeness. We aim to operate in ways that reflect and nurture the vitality in each of us as individuals, and in the living system of our organization, and that support all aspects of ourselves and our systems in coming into balance and functioning in wholesome ways. 4. Learning/growing capacity. We aim to enable ongoing collective and individual learning to continually increase our effectiveness in serving our collective purpose. We aim to grow our capacity and the capacities of others to move towards realizing our vision. Key intentions. What/why, things we aim to manifest, to help us live our core values. 1. Alignment/connection. We aim to nurture alignment and connection with our purpose, alignment and connection between people and between groups, and alignment in how we work together. Alignment is a key to synergy, power, and effectiveness. We are stronger and achieve more when we are together, moving in the same direction, working towards compatible goals in compatible ways, with an open flow of energy and information between us. Linked values. Effectiveness plus purpose plus aliveness/wholeness plus learning/growing capacity. 2. Reflecting interdependence. We recognize that we affect and rely on one another. We aim to relate in ways that support our effectiveness and serving our mutual purpose and care for each other's well-being. Linked values. Aliveness/wholeness plus effectiveness plus learning/growing capacity. 3. Empowerment/support. We aim to create a minimal set of agreements and structures that provide sufficient coherence and support so that our individual and group energies flow unimpeded to action that is aligned with our purpose and care for the whole. Linked values. Aliveness/wholeness plus effectiveness plus learning/growing capacity. 4. Around power and access to resources and influence. We aim to structure power and access in ways that support effectiveness and aliveness and wholeness, reflect nonviolence, and transcend historical patterns of privilege and oppression. Linked values. Aliveness/wholeness plus effectiveness plus learning/growing capacity plus purpose. 5. Service/humility. We aim to live out an intention to serve, caring for needs in ways that are not limited to the transactional model in which one only gives something to get something. 5. With a humility that supports us in meeting people when they are and discovering what is not yet known to us. Linked values. Purpose plus learning/growing capacity plus effectiveness plus aliveness/wholeness. 6. Self-responsibility. We aim as individuals to be connected to our own needs, and to act from that connection. To transform blame and attachment by recognizing the role of our own interpretations, history and choices in creating our experience. And to make choices that care for the impact of our actions on self and others and on the fulfillment of our collective purpose. Linked values. Purpose plus effectiveness plus aliveness/wholeness. Foundational strategies. What/why. High-level strategies we use to support our key intentions and core operational values. 1. Cultivating organizational culture. We cultivate a strong organizational culture that reflects and manifests our values. We use what we learn to evolve this culture, which is expressed in part through our operational agreements. We apply a rigorous process to an individual becoming a partner, to ensure that all new partners understand and are aligned and compatible with the culture they are joining. Our purpose, agreements and culture are used as reference points when offering feedback. Linked intentions. Alignment plus interdependence. 2. Focus on purpose. We cultivate a focus on purpose, defining the purpose of groups and gatherings, and regularly connecting to our purpose at all levels, so that a living relationship with purpose is at the heart of how we function. Linked values. Purpose plus effectiveness. Linked intentions. Alignment/connection. 3. Self-management. As individuals and within weaves, we aim to make our own determinations about what we will do in alignment with the core operational values and key intentions, and even to make decisions in service of the whole. We collectively aim for anyone to have access to support with making a decision as needed, yet without implicitly being expected to rely on and without being impeded by a centralized authority that is more decision-making power or acts as a decision-making bottleneck. Linked values. Aliveness plus effectiveness. Linked intentions. Empowerment/support. 4. Agreements. As individuals and within weaves, we enter into new agreements as is helpful, and we aim to honor existing agreements or make conscious choices about changing agreements. Global Operational Agreements, OAS, which all partners are asked to engage with, provide a means of caring for collective values in ways that have a measure of predictability throughout the organization. They support partners to be in alignment with our values and to give them full attention to areas which may have previously been invisible, such as the persistence of patterns of power and privilege. Linked values, effectiveness plus purpose plus learning/growing capacity plus wholeness. Linked intentions, alignment plus interdependence plus power/access. 5. Modified advice process. Decisions can be made by anyone about anything, consulting with those affected by the decision or with relevant expertise, and with group processes as requested. Linked values, effectiveness plus aliveness/wholeness. Linked intentions, interdependence plus power/access. 6. Feedback. We regularly support individual and collective learning and growth with respect to issues of importance to us, through offering, requesting and receiving feedback. Linked values, effectiveness plus aliveness/wholeness. Linked intentions, interdependence plus power/access plus self-responsibility. 7. Addressing conflict. We cultivate a relationship with conflict that supports us individually and collectively in remaining connected to our vitality and to each other and in integrating new information. Linked values, effectiveness plus aliveness/wholeness plus learning/growing capacity. 7. Linked intentions, interdependence. 8. Transparency. We make all information available to all partners, in a timely fashion, and 5. Open our meetings to observers, except when there is a compelling reason to do otherwise. Linked values, aliveness/wholeness plus effectiveness plus learning/growing capacity. Linked intentions, interdependence. 9. Willingness. We aim to operate so that action occurs only from wholehearted willingness, so that there is no have-to energy. This means that if no one is willing to do something, it doesn't get done. Note that it's not necessary to have active joy, wholehearted willingness is enough. Linked values, aliveness/wholeness plus effectiveness. Linked intentions, service/humility. 10. Aligning resources to purpose and need. We aim to have resources flow from where they are available to where they are needed. Linked values, aliveness/wholeness plus effectiveness. Linked intentions, service/humility. Note that operational agreements add additional concreteness and specificity to these foundational strategies. 8. CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Structural Details. 36. Translating the concepts of autonomy and interdependence into a structural organizational model to support growth, transformation, and effectiveness. The image above is of Indra's web, and it is this image that has inspired us and formed the cornerstone of our work. Indra's web is an ancient metaphor that represents the interconnectedness and interdependency of all things and the interpenetration of all phenomena. Everything contains everything else. At the same time, each individual thing is not hindered by or confused with all the other individual things. This metaphor also allows for reconciling antagonistic forces and neutralizing extremes without loss of integrity or energy. This enables infinite adaptivity in reconciling opposites. The text above is adapted and shortened from a piece by Nabsagaiba on www.blog.akidoyornal.com. The configuration of our component parts. The purpose of this configuration. The NVC0 Community Weaves 1 NVC0, the organization. 37 Principles underlying the structure of the organization. Assumptions. Operational principles. NVCOs. Functions. Partners. Organizational weaves. Global Council Weave Cluster. Global Council Members. Global Council Holder. Internal Leader. NVC0 Community Representative. Functions of the Global Council. Location. Global Convention. 2. 38 The configuration of our component parts. The intention of the integrated plan is to create a structure that is modeled on a living organism with cells that divide and multiply and also expire and are transform. It is organic, cyclical, and three-dimensional with energy ebbing and flowing at all points. We have called this structural model a netweb to distinguish it from existing organizational models, for example hierarchy, sociocracy, patriarchy, etc. This netweb is created by connecting all the different points within it together, in a crisscross fashion. This is similar to the way in which fabric is woven. That is why we have chosen to call each point or node in the netweb a weave. The structure has two primary units within it, the NVC0 community and NVCO. There are two types of weaves in the netweb, community weaves which are the structural units of the NVC0 community, and organizational weaves which are the structural units of NVCO. It is the crisscross connection between weaves that gives the NVC0 community in combination with NVC0 the flexible strength of a web and the catching and harnessing potential of a net. The purpose of this configuration, the structure we created, is designed to 1. Support maximum participation, representation, and autonomy of all individuals and component parts. 2. Support and maximize collaboration between and mutual learning and growth for each individual and component part. 3. Support the long-term health and sustainability of both the NVC0 community and NVCO. 4. Support global visibility and the ability to act on a global scale. The NVC0 community, the largest element of the configuration, is called the NVC0 community. The NVC0 community is made up of all the people in the world, for example trainers, supporters, and committed enthusiasts, who are passionate about NVC and are choosing to be part of the NVC0 community because they are in alignment with its VPM. Purpose of community: to be a network that lives and radiates interdependence and compassion. Mission of community: we are an informal community spread across the world, dedicated to supporting members of our community and individuals and organizations beyond that community in creating a world that works for all. Everything that is currently, as of 2015, happening in the world of NVC that is coordinated by any individual or group that is informally part of NVC0 itself continues uninterrupted unless specific existing groups want to change their activities or structures. While groups are welcome to be part of the NVC0 community as groups see below under community weaves, it is only individuals that at this time are invited to join NVC0 see below under partners. Individuals become members of the NVC0 community because 1. They are inspired by the VPM. 2. They are inspired by and long to learn and integrate the values, behavior and communication styles that are identified by NVC0 as being in alignment with the VPM. And when 1. They become in some way connected to a community weave 2. They register on the virtual home as members. Community weaves: the NVC0 community is organized as an indefinite number of community weaves that come together for a variety of purposes. Some community weaves have as their primary purpose supporting each other's learning, growth, healing, and transformation. For example, many existing practice groups might choose to become community weaves. Other community weaves have as their primary purpose sharing NVC with others. For example, existing organizations and groups such as Dutch and Bank. There is no expectation or any explicit agreement or commitment to contribute to the VPM. It is only individual community weaves who choose for themselves if there are ways they want to contribute. Community weaves have access to all the resources generated by NVC0 and made available to the NVC0 community, including the virtual home, support from people, materials, and more. Community weaves are formed when at least two members come together with a shared purpose. Groups become community weaves by registering themselves as such on the virtual home. Registration information includes information on the nature, geographic location, if geographically based, size category, approximate number of members involved, etc., of the weave, to support people in locating community weaves that may be of interest to them. Community weaves are encouraged to have a minimum of 1/12 of those participating be partners as a way to maintain a close link with NVC0 for the purpose of supporting global connection and coordination. More effective and informed contribution. and mutual learning and support. Partners feed information back to NVC0 about what is happening in the NVC0 community and the ideas and activities that are flourishing there. The knowledge and experience gathered in the NVC0 community feeds back into NVC0 through the weave structures. More details in the section on transition. NVC0 principles underlying the structure of the organization. Following are the principles that underlie the structure of NVC0. Both the assumptions that help us trust that such a structure can work, and the operational principles that guide the flow of energy and work within the structure. Assumptions. Our work is guided by two basic assumptions that are extensions of the core assumptions underlying NVC. 1. People are capable of organizing themselves to work towards a vision that inspires them. 2. With sufficient support structures in place, people flourish and are increasingly proactive in structures that support self-determination, interdependence, and trust. For operational principles, the entire thrust of the structure, decision-making, and guidelines for operating described below are to support the emergence of an organization in which 1. Emergence, trial and error, that is continual adaptation, and ongoing learning are built into the structure. 2. Function and structure follow purpose. 3. Self-management, peer relationships, and peer/self-assessment form the DNA of the structure. 4. Decision-making provides maximal autonomy everywhere within NVC0 while maintaining a strong sense of being part of the whole through focus on the shared purpose and culture. 5. All partners in weaves have full power to initiate, contribute, and make all decisions to do their work. 6. There is ample space for expression of diverse theories of change, including additional ones beyond those currently prevalent in the NVC community, that is critical mass, transformation of leadership, and systemic change. 7. Multiple strategies are used to further our VPM, expanding beyond our previous core focus of training individuals. 8. Connection, collaboration, trust, and efficiency are maximized. 9. The organizational culture is infused with NVC principles and practices such as assumptions about human nature, giving and receiving feedback, conflict transformation mechanisms, making specific and doable requests, and others. 10. NVC is seen as a tool/strategy that we love and employ to help us live and create our vision, purpose, and mission. It is not an end in itself, though it is the core-specific contribution we bring to the world. 11. Only that gets done in NVC0 for which there are people with wholehearted willingness to do it. No one does things with have-to energy, and there is no expectation that everything will necessarily be done with active joy, only wholehearted willingness. 12. Resources flow from where they exist to where they are needed. 13. No one works for pay, and everyone has enough resources to do the work they are gifting. NVCO's functions. The structure described here is designed, in part, to carry out the functions currently 2015 held by the existing CNVC board, staff, and designated volunteers, which include the new future process working groups. In addition, the structure is now also able to support the NVC0 community and the work happening within it, to initiate and support globally coordinated projects, to support emerging communities in impoverished countries, to take part in transforming relationships between formerly colonizing and formerly colonized parts of the world, and to do direct work on creating collaborative systems. Its backbone role might also enable local NVC5 organizations and practitioners to play a role in collective and strategic local change efforts, especially via the work of community interface weaves. Why note, these additional functions have been named and desired by the global NVC community and have not been attended to by the current CNVC configuration. Such functions have been discussed over many years, since at least the Strategic Planning Committee produced its work in 2003-4. In the intervening years, Despite several attempts by specific groups, for example the Global Community Circle (GCC) in the years 2005 to 2007, to attend to such additional functions, no concrete actions have materialized. In part, we see the reason for this as being the result of global functioning being encumbered by narrow bottlenecks with regards to resources and decision-making. At the same time, local NVC organizations, by their nature, are less likely to be able to gain access to global resources, for example UN grants, to be able to engage in projects with a global reach. Partners. A NVC Zero partner is someone who, in addition to joining the NVC Zero community as a member, also agrees to the additional following criteria for self-selection. They would love to join NVC Zero because 1. They want to actively contribute to the vision that we all share, and also to the additional purpose and mission of NVC Zero with a deep commitment to service and to holding the whole. The intention to hold the whole is key to making it feasible for individual partners and weaves to be fully empowered in decision-making. 2. They are aware of and willing to act in accordance within the existing structure at the time of joining, and in line with the operational agreements (OAs) in existence at that time regarding organizational culture and systems. This includes, in particular, how decisions are made and changed, how conflicts are resolved, and how feedback is given and received. 3. They are aware of the mechanisms of creating new operational agreements (OAs) in the above areas, and are willing to accept such OAs in these areas in most cases, except when consciously choosing other strategies to attend to specific needs or circumstances that were not considered in the creation of the OA in question. In such cases, they are willing to provide feedback to the Global Council or any other relevant weave or other body for future editions of the OA in question. 4. They are aligned with the intention to attend to their own needs for learning, healing, and community, primarily in community weaves. And when 1. They join an organizational weave, see below, which is fundamentally a task-oriented team with a specific shared purpose within the larger purpose of the organization as part of their commitment to service. 2. They have connected with an existing partner from a relevant weave, have received orientation from that partner, and have completed the onboarding process. 3. They register on the virtual home as a partner. All NVC Zero partners have full decision-making authority within NVCO. 32. Why note, we have set up becoming a partner to be a conscious, active choice with specific steps that are requested of all who want to do it. It is a deliberate choice on our part to separate completing the path of becoming an NVC practitioner, or being a certified trainer in the existing CNVC, from choosing to become a partner. The reason is to support the integrity of the commitment to service and the commitment to a distinct purpose and mission. Relevant OA, to support both effective decision-making and collaborative action, we aim to have no more than 12 people in any decision-making body. Organizational weaves as described above. The NVC Zero community organizes itself loosely and informally into community weaves. NVC Zero as an organization is formally and structurally organized into organizational weaves. It is the interaction between weaves that creates the net web. Aside from any specific OAs in place, each organizational weave makes all their decisions autonomously, including what activities they will pursue, who does which part of these activities, whether or not they will have a physical office, whether or not they will fundraise for their activities, etc. No other body makes decisions for a weave. Even when deciding whether/which OAs to follow, each weave retains autonomy, since specific needs or circumstances may lead them to make different choices and provide feedback. OAs are, in that sense, very high threshold recommendations rather than rules. Weaves are comprised of partners who share a common focus area, application, project, or location. Starting a weave, in general, any partner can identify a theme of interest and involvement and start a new weave with other partners based on this general process. 1. They define any criteria or application procedures for the weave that is being created based on the modified advice process, which would mean consulting with those affected and those with specific expertise in this area. 2. They actively invite anyone in the NVC0 community to join and become a partner if they are not already. 3. Except when forming weaves based on location, community interface weaves and possibly others, they aim to include partners from different cultures and countries to the extent possible and relevant. Note: if a member accepts an invitation to join a weave, they will be asked to go through the onboarding process of becoming a partner by agreeing to the additional self-selecting criteria for partners. See details before having decision-making authority within the weave. A weave is formed when the following conditions are met. 7. 1. 3 or more partners are active in the weave. 33. 2. They describe their common purpose in a few sentences and link it to the purpose of NVCO. 3. They delineate how they plan on evaluating their success in fulfilling their purpose. 4. They specify the weave cluster within which they are forming. 5. They post the name, purpose, evaluation criteria, and contact information of their weave on the virtual home. Weaves divide and multiply, or shrink and decrease, as changes occur in NVCO, in the NVC0 community, or in the world at large. A weave divides at a time of its own choosing or when a 13th partner wants to join as described in the governance operational agreements. The particular internal structures of each cluster are left to the implementation council to flesh out, with the understanding that whatever the original design is, the actual structure will emerge organically and gradually over time as partners join NVCO and form them. This is most evident for any weave structure that is based on location, such as the community interface weaves. How they will actually form remains fluid and inherently impossible to predict. For instance, in areas in the world where there is very little NVC activity, at first only weaves pertaining to large areas, country, continent might have enough partners to form, dividing gradually until there are enough partners in any local area to have truly local weaves. Conversely, in places where there are large enough regions and or countries, as well as countries and regions with a higher density of partners, community interface weaves might be broken down into very small units, eventually even up to a neighborhood. There are 9 weave clusters as identified below. In the future, NVCO may reorganize the functions listed into a different configurations of weave clusters. So long as there are 9, no other changes would need to be made in the structure. Weaves flow into the weave cluster that most accurately fits with their shared focus. 1. Community interface cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work that are related to developing and sustaining community within NVCO as well as the connection between NVCO and the NVCO community. In that way, the community interface weaves are the backbone of NVCO as well as serving as a physical and personal link between the NVCO community and NVCO. The functions of this cluster as a whole include supporting connections and collaboration within and between geopolitical regions as well as the effects of international conflicts. Attending to complexity regarding nationalities, languages, and regional conflicts. Tending to the evolutionary tension between NVC density and population density. Tending to the quality of community within NVCO. Tending to functions of supporting the NVCO community, including in particular those sharing NVC. Individual community interface weaves support and serve the NVCO community in ways that are relevant and meaningful to them. Build and maintain strong two-way links between NVCO and the NVCO community. Harvest and connect what is happening in the NVCO community directly back into NVCO on a global scale. Support members in becoming partners. Contribute to clarity in NVCO about the state of the health and 834 well-being of the NVC0 community. And other similar functions. Community interface weaves form in relation to location/geography. 2. Maintenance cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work that are related to sustaining technical aspects of NVCO's functioning, such as maintaining the virtual home, tending to administration, legal compliance, etc. 3. Resources cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work that are related to the flow of resources to and within NVC0, such as fundraising, maintaining the common pool, resource flow, and learning and educating others within NVC0 about new economic paradigms so as to keep bringing NVCO's handling of resources in line with its values and vision. 4. Organizational process cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work that are related to the internal functioning of NVC0 as an organization. This includes tending to transparency, information flow within NVCO, tending to systems such as conflict transformation, onboarding, and others, providing support to Weaves and partners such as Weave coaches, feedback coaches, and more. 5. Creating access cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work that are related to the overall goal of creating access to and within NVC0 to all people, including in particular attending to the legacy of colonialism, patterns of privilege, language barriers, disabilities and other barriers that may exist in the world and within NVCO. This includes translation, methods for providing free access to resources for those who need it, attending to disability accessibility, attention to different learning styles and abilities, and providing resources and education on topics related to power, privilege, and other access elements. 6. External communications cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work that are related to media and outreach, training and other public events, relationships with individuals and organizations outside NVCO, and other forms of external communications. 7. Applications cluster. Weaves within this cluster are inspired by and focus on a specific application, such as training, facilitation, coaching, mediation, therapy, activism, organizational leadership, personal growth, etc. They also attend to functions such as developing and disseminating materials, maintaining resources for the virtual home such as a learning support center, engaging in research, etc. Note that Weaves in the applications cluster, like all organizational Weaves, are intended to be about collaboratively getting things done. So, an application Weave might, among other things, focus on crystallizing knowledge about what is effective within a particular domain and sharing those practices. If a group wants to only talk about, or offer mutual support in regard to an application, this would be organized as a community Weave. 8. Projects cluster. Weaves within this cluster are inspired by and focus on projects aimed at creating significant effects in the world. They will most likely be global, large-scale projects, though not necessarily so. Projects are aimed in the direction of systemic change through applying NVC principles to transform structures and share NVC practices to build collaborative capacity. 9. NVC Evolution and Innovation Cluster. Weaves within this cluster take on pieces of work 4-5 that are related to the development of NVC theory, new applications for NVC, development of new ways of sharing NVC in collaboration with access, learning about other modalities, processes, and research that may inform the development of NVC. For example, developments in economics, education, brain science, and more. They also attend to development of NVC0 as an organization in terms of researching new forms of organizing, the potential move to ecoregions, and more. Global Council. The Global Council is the convergence point of NVC0 in which the Weave clusters come together. Its purpose is to anchor a global perspective and strengthen NVCO's collective ability to pursue its purpose and mission in line with its values, including the principles of self-management and wholeness. It also attends to certain types of decisions which are most effectively handled globally, see below, and to tracking the overall functioning of NVCO. In all other respects, the GC has no more and no less decision-making authority than any other partner or Weave. In line with the rest of NVCO's structure, the Global Council is made up of 12 people in total, 1 from each of the 9 Weave clusters, an internal leader, a Global Council holder, and an NVC0 community representative. Weave Cluster Global Council members. Each of the 9 Weave clusters selects a person to sit on the Global Council, with the intention to select someone who has the capacity to recognize and attend to the issues relevant to their theme and to encompass their richness and complexity, who is deeply versed in issues of power and privilege, and who is capable of holding a global perspective. Members of the Global Council are not representatives in any usual sense of the word. They form, rather, a repository of knowledge, experience, and care, and are entrusted with supporting making decisions and taking actions that attend to issues, concerns, and needs present in their respective domain. Part of that entrustment is a recognition that the person selected will need to exercise their intuition and judgment about when to bring a matter under discussion to the attention of the entire Weave cluster before a decision is made. Input and requests flow in both directions, both to the Global Council from Weaves, and from the Global Council to the rest of NVC0 and the NVC0 community. Metaphorically, the GC functions like a beating heart receiving blood from its veins and pumping it out again via arteries. 1. Community Interface Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster. Weaves, including in particular attending to conflicts within NVC0 and NVC0 community that are rooted in national or language enmities. 2. Maintenance Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular initiating new weaves necessary for the fundamental functioning of NVCO. 3. Resources Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular the vision of attending to resources according practices that are most aligned with NVCO's vision and values. 4. Organizational Process Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular soliciting and engaging with feedback about the various systems within 10 NVCO, and collaborating with the internal leader to guide the processes of adapting and learning in relation to operational agreements. 5. Creating Access Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular exercising leadership within NVC0 as the whole to inspire and support the move to redress and transcend the legacy of colonialism and any form of oppression. 6. External Communications Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular being the face of NVC0 in terms of, for example, media presence, issuing statements, writing newsletters, conferences, etc. 7. Applications Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular soliciting input from the NVC0 community about new developments in the practice of sharing and applying NVC beyond NVC0 and potentially initiating new application weaves in response. 8. Projects Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular envisioning potential new projects and initiating requests for partners to form weaves within this cluster, as well as researching the work of other individuals and organizations to explore potential collaborations. 9. NVC Evolution and Innovation Focus Holder holds the focus for the work of this cluster, including in particular holding a visionary perspective within the Global Council. Global Council Holder. The Global Council Holder is selected through sociocratic elections by the Global Council itself. The function of the Global Council Holder is purely internal, to support the effective functioning of the Global Council. This includes functions such as 1. Attend to Global Council internal issues. 2. Track and monitor process and tasks. 3. Offer leadership, feedback, and conflict resolution as needed within the Global Council internal leader. The internal leader is selected through sociocratic elections by the Global Council to attend to specific functions essential for successful operation of self-managing, purpose-driven organizations. Why note, see our extended discussion about leadership in the section called Thoughts about Decision-Making and Hierarchy in the Meta Comments document. We consider it essential to understand that the person chosen to serve this role is not a decision maker any more or any less than any other partner. In support of self-management, the leader makes as few decisions as possible and only about matters relating to their specific role as leaders. In all other matters, The leader is considered a regular partner, with the same access to decision-making as everyone else. 11. The leader makes their activities and decisions transparent to the entire NVC0 community. The internal leader attends to the functioning of the organization as a whole, with a specific focus on purpose, values, structure, and decision-making, as well as being a main focal point for the development of operational agreements. The specific functions of the internal leader are as follows. 1. Helping breathe life in the new organization by supporting newly formed weaves. 2. In the early stages of the organization, encouraging members of the NVC0 community to become partners and initiate weaves. 3. Holding the space for maintaining the integrity of the structure and culture of NVCO, most especially through being present in the weaves work, sharing reflections and feedback, writing inspirational notes, bringing awareness to articles, research, or pieces of news. This function is about feeding the roots of inspiration and vision, as well as helping all partners to sink in deeper into and hold the organization's purpose and mission. It's also about nurturing and maintaining the unique culture that allows the organization to function effectively as a purpose-driven organization based on self-managed teams. 4. Listening to the vision/purpose. Listening to the direction NVC0 is moving in organically, and inspiring others to stay connected to the vision/purpose. 5. Building and maintaining strong links with weaves. NVC0 Community Representative. The community representative is a partner selected by the NVC0 community to bring its voice to the Global Council and to hold the perspective of effective decisions, structures, and systems on the NVC0 community. The person selected is a partner who is a member of a community weave. Note, given that this person represents the NVC0 community, this plan calls for the NVC0 community to find a way to meaningfully select the person after the period of the Transitional Global Council selected by the Implementation Council. Functions of the Global Council. The Global Council does not engage in any doing, only in certain specific pieces of decision-making and in igniting initiatives. That said, individual people within the GC will be partners in their respective weaves, taking further actions in that capacity. Just like any other weave, the Global Council decides how they make decisions and whether and how they further organize themselves into subgroups. The Global Council makes its activities and decisions transparent to the NVC0 community and to all partners. All meetings of the GC are open for observers. We anticipate the Global Council engaging in the following activities. 1. Initiatives. Due to its structure, the GC is likely to be closely in touch with happenings in the NVC0 community, and NVCO, and in the world, and consider whether, at the global scale in which it operates, it wants to recommend that action be taken by an existing weave, or whether it wants to create a new weave populated by at least one GC member temporarily until the initiative has garnered sufficient resources and stability to continue. 12. The newly created weave, which could be part of any of the existing weave clusters, would also be populated by other partners. 2. Establishing ad hoc decision-making weaves, from time to time, in response to certain conditions or needs within the NVC0 community, in NVCO, or in the world. The GC may choose to ask for the establishment of a short-term weave solely for the purpose of attending to a particular situation that is not sufficiently attended to by the ongoing mechanisms of decision-making. Such decision-making weaves might meet for an extended period of time until the underlying need or issue has been attended to. Considerations about their composition are likely to emerge in response to the issue at hand. 3. Operational agreements. It is one of the primary tasks of the GC to engage with the functioning of weaves as a way of identifying areas in which functioning may be enhanced by modifying existing OAs, harvesting ones created within the weaves, or creating new ones altogether. The actual work of creating or modifying OAs is done by relevant weaves. 4. Selection of leadership. Another core function of the Global Council is to initiate and coordinate the process of selecting the internal leader of NVC0 to be described further below, and of the Global Council holder, to join the 9 GC members who were selected through the Weave structure and the one that is selected by the NVC0 community. 5. Feedback and coordination. As the need arises, the Global Council may come to awareness of issues that may benefit from attention at the global scale, for example when there are disagreements or confusions about how weaves form and divide. When such issues arise, the GC may make a recommendation or proposal, ask others for support, or initiate any other process that could be supportive. At the same time, the GC regularly engages in activities designed to solicit and engage with input and feedback from around the world. Terms. People selected to the Global Council serve 3-year terms, and each year 1/S of the people on the GC rotate off and a new greater than S rotates in, which encourages fresh input while also maintaining continuity year to year. Once a person has served on the Global Council, they take a 2-year break before joining the GC again. Note that the first time the GC is established, some members will either serve only 1 year or 4, and some will serve either 2 years or 5, until the cycle is fully established. When replacing people, the following considerations apply. 1. Continuing to increase presence of Global South and other underserved communities to majority Global South until the access issues are fully resolved in the world. Details of geographic, socio-economic representation on the Global Council will be worked out by the Access Weave in the first year of the Transitional Global Council. 2. In the same manner, continuing to increase the proportion of Europeans relative to North Americans. 3. The Implementation Council has as one of its tasks developing the processes for selecting Global Council members within clusters in consultation with the Access Weave/cluster in particular. 1349 Location NVC0 will not have a bricks-and-mortar office nor real estate, but instead a state-of-the-art virtual online home that is available 24/7/365 and provides a virtual and global link between the NVC0 community and NVCO. Why note, anywhere that it would be, a physical office would be inaccessible to the vast majority of people in the global NVC community. Investing resources into a virtual home makes more resources accessible to more people. Although in some places in the world access to technology is itself a barrier, we have included, elsewhere in our plan, a framework for fundraising weaves to generate resources to support technology in those areas. This virtual home will be a space where, 1. Anyone in the world can find us and we can show our face to the world. 2. Members with an internet connection can meet, share, celebrate, mourn, create, plan, learn and give and receive empathy. 3. Partners can offer support, learning sessions, weave coaching, etc. The virtual home will be multilingual with resources such as 1. Empathy Lounge. 2. Language-based cafes where people who share a common language can meet. 3. Club rooms for friends. 4. Office spaces for meetings and strategy sessions. 5. Resource Center includes documents, studies, research, films, art, etc. 6. Online shop where people can purchase and sell NVC-related items. 7. A place where all weaves are registered and people can find each other based on multiple criteria. Note, by multilingual we mean that different pages could be in different languages, not necessarily that everything is translated into all languages. The specific details of making the virtual home workable in multiple languages for multiple users are to be worked out by the Implementation Council. Our virtual home will be built and cared for by a highly skilled team of home weavers. The Structure and Governance Working Group (SGWG) recommends that the Implementation Council choose to invest a sufficient portion of its financial and human resources into this home to make it a reality. Home weavers are skilled in IT, virtual conferencing, and systems management. Our intention is to have a team that is made up of people from several continents. They will assist all weaves with the following. 1. Create virtual meetings and video conferences. 14. 2. Post documents and other resources. 53. Troubleshoot technical difficulties, including support with initial registration. 4. Create a home office for each weave that requests 1.5. Train people how to use the resources of the virtual home. The Integration Council anticipates that the virtual home will be our most valued asset, and we want a high degree of reliability, as well as continually growing and expanding resources available. Because of that, we anticipate that some of the home weavers will be supported financially by NVC0 as a way of making it possible for them to make this service a high priority. In addition, SGWG anticipates that there will be a global volunteer base that helps with projects and supports the home weavers. In addition to our primary virtual home, NVC0 will also exist as a legally registered organization in a country other than the United States, whose legal options for registering organizations will best support our vision. As a legal entity, NVC0 will be relocated to a different country than the United States because we believe that it will help the entire global community trust that we are truly a global organization. We recognize the possibility of registering NVC0 in multiple countries, and leave it to the Implementation Council to decide. Therefore, there is a distinction between where NVC0 is registered in a new country that we identify, and where it is located online in our virtual home. Global Convention. The Global Convention is a gathering of partners that focuses on the health of NVC0 and that brings out evolutionary thinking about who we are and how we are contributing to our purpose. Initially, the convention occurs every 2 years and lasts 7-10 days, with the location rotating among the 6 continents in a location that is the most accessible as possible for people traveling from other countries, for example ease in getting visas. After 3 conventions, the frequency and structure can be redetermined. Some activities of the convention will be accessible to partners around the world through our online virtual technologies. The main goals of the Global Convention are to 1. Nurture NVCO's health by connecting partners face-to-face. 2. Strategically move forward in transitioning from primarily focusing on personal development to embracing multiple approaches to moving towards our vision. 3. Learn skills in support of the functioning of NVC0 which can also be shared with the NVC0 community, for example decision-making, convergent facilitation, fundraising, conflict transformation in groups, etc. These trainings will not be focused on personal development, but rather on building, growing, and nurturing organizational functioning. The Global Convention is open to all partners and is hosted on rotating continents by the relevant community interface weaves. Each Global Convention is followed by 2 Global NVC0 Community Inspiration Days, which members are invited to attend. The program for these 2 51 days is developed by weaves who wish to take specific action to share and inspire the broader NVC0 community. Why note, whilst we have concerns about both the financial and environmental costs of flying, SGWG sees NVC0 taking an evolutionary leap from being a purely training-based organization to one based on multiple approaches to moving towards our vision. We believe that the global conventions will play a key role in this transition. Things that might occur at the convention, both in person and through a virtual feed. 1. Meeting of the Global Council, open for all to observe. 2. Meetings of the weaves. Partners in many weaves live around the world, so this is an opportunity to meet in person. 3. Sharing of strategies that have worked for organizing successful local, regional, country, and continental weaves and proposing new operational agreements based on such experiences. 4. Trainings about skills that help us nurture the health of the NVC0 community and NVCO. 5. Opportunities for weaves to formalize personal/peer learning systems, such as to mark the completion of certain learning agreements, for example what currently exists for trainer certification and are similar or different processes created by other application weaves. 6. Exploration of social technologies that invoke creative